Ramona Shelburne here on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, Ramona?
Good. How are you doing?
I am doing well. All right, let's start first with the game, with the Western Conference Finals, and Greg Popovich saying that the team needed to get slapped, that they didn't believe that they could beat the Warriors. What do you make of this series as it moves back to San Antonio, Ramona?
I mean, I feel like Pop's been trying to fire his team up through the media for the last couple of days. I mean, even his reaction to the Kawhi injury, I think, was part of this. I mean, I think, he knew that Kawhi was out, and he was trying to light a fire under his team, and around the NBA. Obviously, he was upset, but I think some of the ways that he did it the first day was sort of just to push his guys and be like, okay, you want to light a fire under you. So last night was really just a continuation of that, right? I mean, that's just okay. Now I'm going to challenge their competitiveness. Now I'm going to challenge their belief, because look, it was profoundly disappointing when Kawhi got hurt. I thought we were going to be in for a classic 7-game series, and now, with the way the Spurs have been playing without Kawhi, it just feels like it could be a sweep, and an ugly sweep at that. So, he's obviously challenging his guys and pushing them just to get competitive and get back into this thing.
And your colleague who's calling the games, Jeff Van Gundy, said that Zaza Pachulia's play in Game 1 should be a flagrant foul, and then we see LaMarcus Aldridge do something similar to Durant in Game 2. Durant didn't think much of it. Do you think that there's going to be any sort of there for the Board of Governors to deal with something like this?
Yeah, it's something the competition committee can discuss, but it's obviously there's already a rule, right? I mean, there's already something to this, and it's obviously becoming more of an issue because of the injury to Kawhi. But I do think this happens like all the time. And if the next day, Mike Brown took Pop's comments and said, yeah, actually LaMarcus did the same thing to Steph Curry 2 plays later, and he goes at the 7:23 mark. In other words, why don't you guys go look at the 7:23 mark and you can see what happened. It was interesting just seeing how that played out, because obviously this is something that happens all the time. And is it dirty or unfortunate? I kind of canvassed about a dozen coaches, players, GMs, front office guys, and it was mixed, right, on that first play. And so I think that tells you just kind of where things all end up. It's somewhere in between, right? And maybe that is the way to change it, to make it a flagrant one, and then people really won't do that. But you also have to be able to close out and defend the three-point line, especially in today's NBA.
Ramona Shelburne from the worldwide leader, ESPN, ESPN.com, joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. Let's get into the draft lottery now. Celtics have the first overall selection. I tweeted out, just like my old friend would say, the Celtics must be butter. They're on a roll. Now, they're going to host the Cleveland Cavaliers in the Eastern Conference Finals tonight. And now they also hold the first overall selection. What do you think they're going to do with that, Ramona?
Well, I think Markelle Fultz is the one that everybody's looking at, just because of he's seen as the top guy in this draft. But it's not like last draft where it was like, or 2 drafts ago where it was Karl Anthony Towns, and then there was a wide margin between number 1 and number 2. I think there's some debate of if, depending on which type of player you want. The top 4 or 5 guys are kind of bunched together, even though Fultz, I think, is the guy that's number 1 right now. But what really gets interesting is, if you haven't noticed, he's a point guard. And the Celtics' best player right now is a point guard, who happens to be he has 1 more year in his contract, but you could extend him, and that's going to really get interesting in what they do with this pick and how it affects Isaiah Thomas and his contract situation. And then, of course, you have the number 1 pick, and we can have fun thinking about all the teams that are going to call him. And what trades Danny might have to consider. Danny Ainge might have to consider in that spot. Do they revisit the Jimmy Butler trade? Do they revisit the Paul George trade? And I just think from now until when they make that pick, we're not really going to know what they're going to do, because just knowing Boston the way I do, I think they like to have to create a little chaos around the NBA.
Well, I mean, and in terms of that, Ramona, I mean, we already heard some members of the Celtics organization saying, we'll absolutely take a look at Lonzo Ball, especially since that the Ball family desperately wants to get Lonzo into the downtown hoops dojo, as it's known around here in Los Angeles, for the Lakers. LeVar, who you did a long-form feature on and spent a lot of time with recently for the magazine, is going through the Fox Sports car wash as we speak, Ramona. What is the game plan from the Ball perspective first? Can you tell me?
Well, here's what's interesting. They're gonna have to decide whether they really want him to be a Laker or whether they want him to be the number one pick. Because I texted a bunch of folks last night. Okay, is he gonna work out for the Celtics? Right? They got the number one pick, and they said we haven't decided that yet. Well, let's see how June comes when you ask LeVar that, I'm sure he's gonna say no, he's not working out for anybody but the Lakers. He's gonna be a Laker. And it's like, I don't know, man. LeVar's always he's had this plan, and so far a lot of it's come true. Of they're going to go to UCLA, then they're going to be a Laker, then he's going to do his shoe, and people are all going to buy it because he's a Laker. I mean, I don't know. He's been right so far, but it's I think from their perspective, they've just got to this is now real. This isn't just like talk anymore. Do you really want to pass up a chance to be the number one pick just so you can be a Laker? We'll see about the next month. And I know what LeVar is going to say today, but let's see how that plays out, because I have a feeling they probably would work out for the Celtics if it came down to it and they thought Boston was serious about taking him.
Well, I mean, LeVar maybe should call Archie Manning. You know what I'm saying? Like that he's going to have to go into the Manning playbook, I guess, to get his kid where he wants him to go, which is one has to think it's Los Angeles. I mean, they're all here. The family is here. And the only question I have for you on that front is, what about the Lakers' appetite for this whole thing?
By the way, do the Lakers want him, right? I mean, isn't that the question?
Yeah, so that's the question.
And so I've talked to a lot of there's a lot of folks at the Lakers who have opinions on this one, and everybody I've talked to really thinks Lonzo's great. He elevates his teammates, he makes everybody better, plays at a certain pace that the Lakers want to play at, but right, but not, do you want to deal with LeVar the whole time, especially in Los Angeles, and maybe even more importantly, what do you think of De'Aaron Fox? I mean, he kind of kicked his butt when they played head-to-head in that last game. What do you think of Josh Jackson? That he's in some ways a better complement for Brandon Ingram and the type of long, tough defender that you also need in the system that Luke Walton wants to play. I mean, Luke Walton's playing the system the Warriors are playing. What do you need if you're coaching that? You need a great point guard, and you need some great, long, tough defenders like Klay Thompson and Andre Iguodala and guys like that. And so I think they're really it's going to come down to workouts, and I don't think this is a done deal that Lonzo goes to the Lakers right away. But the one thing I will say, this will reveal how much power Magic Johnson's going to have, because I think if there is any kind of split in that organization, whatever Magic wants is going to happen.
Well, that makes sense, Ramona. I'm with Ramona Shelburne of ESPN for a couple more minutes here, and I want to get into this part of it here too, because the Lakers, we all know, firsthand, you covered this as it was happening, Jeannie Buss and Jim Buss, and what happened with, I guess, the court systems and how that they had to get involved here to figure out what Jerry Buss really put in his will, et cetera, et cetera. And Jeannie's in charge, and she put Magic Johnson, of all people, in charge. Now, would the Lakers go ahead and having Magic as the face front guy of this organization, as he has been since the minute he stepped off campus at Michigan State, now have to do battle as a face front figure with LeVar Ball, who, again, is going through the car wash right now and has not been shy about saying what he's going to say. You spent time with LeVar Ball. How much of this is flash and trying to create an image and be savvy and create an image, or uncontrollable desire to be face front, and would actually be a problem for Magic Johnson should this thing hit?
Well, I think that I honestly can't tell you right now, okay? Because I think a lot of this right now is about the brand. I think a lot of this right now is the big baller brand is that's the whole thing. Is like you take on the system, you take on everybody. I don't think he was a huge distraction at UCLA, but then he started talking about other players on the team, and I don't think that would play as well in the NBA, right? You're talking about grown men, right? So. I do think Magic would handle his business. I really do. I know Irvin comes across as a nice guy, but I've heard when he needs to be the heavy, he can be the heavy. So it's that really is the question, though. I mean, and for me, I found LeVar to be the kind of guy, like when you interview him, you have to throw it right back at him. When he says something ridiculous, you have to throw it back at him, and you do it in a way where you kind of laugh at it. Like you have this like bemused quality to you, and then you can interview LeVar Ball. But if you take him seriously, because he's sort of like a walking headline, he just knows how to do that and stir the pot, then then he comes across a little differently. So I think you just have to know how to handle him. But even the idea that you have to handle him, it factors into your choice at number 2, right? If there's another guy you like the same, maybe that's the difference maker. This is what this next month is for, right? This is what this next month is for.
That's exactly what it is. Ramona, thanks for the time. Appreciate it. We'll have you back on. Come in studio next time you're in Los Angeles. Okay, Ramona?
All right. I'll be back in about 3 hours.
You got it. Very good. That's Ramona Shelburne.
The Rich Eisen Show. Weekdays at noon Eastern on radio stations across the country and audience.
If you like that video, be sure to download your app, because if you don't, I'm going to fire Del Tufo. I didn't think that no. Still, get our app.